You're going to hear him referred to as Omax all the time. Olivier-Maxence Prosper from Canada, played for Marquette. 6'8" wing, almost 21. Shot 34% from three, but really good true shooting, 62% there. And finished at 51% field goal percentage overall. Just a lower usage wing, but is rising up a lot. We've heard a little bit of buzz from him at the NBA draft combine, and I believe that he's pulled out of the next day's worth of scrimmages because of his level of production.
He played very well, yeah.
That's always a pretty good sign. There's been a few of those guys that have stood out there. A guy that we talked about a couple of days ago on the show, Tristan Vukcevic, he also played really well, and I think he pulled out of scrimmages moving forward. But Prosper's a guy that wasn't really, to me, someone who was on the radar until I really started to dig into this. Not a name I'd heard a huge amount. Love the name, it's fantastic. But what does he bring to an NBA team? Is it just like, hey, you are a wing, you are 6'8", 6'9", you can shoot a little bit, you can defend a little bit? What is it that he does?
He's really kind of the interesting thing about Omax. So Marquette, I really kind of love what Shaka Smart's done there. They've become sort of a developmental factory already, where they bring in guys for 2 years.
Yep.
And they're just kind of twitchy, kind of interesting athletes the first year. They don't play a whole lot, and then they just develop skill. Like Osei Ighodaro developed a lot of skill. Cam Jones has developed a lot of skill. Omax he started for them, but he was the kind of guy where one game he'd start off 0 for 2, 0 for 3, and they just wouldn't, they would just, all right, you're not. And then the next game he'd start off 6 for 6, and he'd be scorching, and that would be the Omax game. And every 4 or 5 games would be a game where he took 20, 25 shots, and he was killing it. And I feel like definitely at the start, that's what he's going to be. Like, he's coming in off the bench, and he's just going to launch. He's going to launch threes. He's going to run, good athlete. He can run in transition. He's going to slip off, like back cuts and just get to the rim. Offensive rebounds, put backs, just be like a really high energy guy who could shoot. And I think the idea is you take that guy, I would even say, I have him at 30. I'd even, mid-20s, it's kind of all the same to me. If you really think you're a team that can develop that kind of guy, like a Toronto maybe, like that's the kind of guy that they would be into in that range. They're not in that range, but.
I got him at 34, so interesting to you have him at 30. So like a lot of the mocks I've looked at got him either 35 to undrafted. Again, I haven't updated that in a few days, but so you're going really high on him, and I'm seeing him creep up. And there's a lot of mock drafts I looked at from even the 2-3 weeks ago. He's not even on him, not even in the top 60 picks. Yeah, but he is rising.
He's been in my top 45 for a while. It's not even so much that I'm that high on him. It's more just like I think after 22 or 23, this draft really flattens out. And the reason he's at 30 for me is I wanted to have that as a nice clean tier. But I was just thinking of like what guy could start. Could I see being a starter? And it's like I could see this guy being like a starting 4 at some point. Like it's not out of the range of possibility to me because he's the athleticism's there, the shooting's there. He's not bad at defense. I feel like if a team really thinks they can work with him and just kind of the thing, he doesn't have like a huge weakness other than just. He's just not like super consistent, and I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, that can grow. And the interesting thing here, I think, is we just talked about Brandon Miller and his age, and we look at Prosper, and it depends how you look at it. Like he's a junior, like he played at Clemson, then he's played 2 years at Marquette, right? But he's 4 months older than Brandon Miller, so he's not old. Like he is a young junior versus Miller being an old freshman. So all this stuff is really relative. So he's 3 years college experience and he's 4 months older than Brandon Miller. That is a really interesting thing to look at. And it's just one thing we always need to keep in mind is that classes don't always mean the same thing. Like 3 years college experience and he's 20 years of age. Like it's really, really intriguing to see where, and the rate of development as well coming across the Marquette is something to watch. Now, this next guy is someone...